Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's presentation for the xLights Gem series. It'll be on Singing Faces with David Robinson of Lights on Abbey Sequences. With that, David, take it away.
Sure. Thank you very much. Um, so I'm going to go through Singing Faces, at least how I know them anyway. Many of you know that using xLights, there's multiple ways to do things. So I'm just going to cover my way. If anybody wants to jump in and say another way to do it, that's great. We can entertain that during the presentation. So just be interactive. And but if you want to hold your questions to the end, that works too. Um, so we're going to talk about what makes the mouth move, how do we do music, how do we import it using auto lyric align, editing timing tracks, how we can change face settings. And if we have enough time, we're going to talk about building faces for a model and also shimmer. So um, with no further ado, let's go get into it. I'm going to share my main desktop. So the English language, when we talk about number, how what make faces move, the English language has 44 phonemes, which are made from the vowels and the consonants. There's actually more. It just depends on the dialect. Like if you're from the Northeast, you may have more phonemes. But xLights only uses, I believe, 10 or 11 total. But phonemes are representations of how the mouth moves um, when you're talking. So that's what xLights use to make singing faces work. I don't know why it's over here. I'm sorry for this, gentlemen and ladies. So how do you use faces submodels in your layout? Basically, you have a talking prop. Let's use this guy. This one happens to be a Biscoyo chroma character, and with it, it's defined the faces or the phonemes. The phonemes are defined right here with what pixels are to light up relative to the mouth movement. So every one of these are defined on every singing face that's out there. Um, you can change them if you don't like them, or you can add to them. You can see there's different things here that aren't filled out for this one. Other ones have, let's look at this um, faces models for this EFL pumpkin. So the EFL pumpkin has multiple things. They have an outline, they have different parts as well. But again, its phonemes are, notice how when this was built, they put the nose in with it for the phonemes. But it's just how the model builder builds this. And again, you can change it as you feel needed. But every every model has different faces, and they're all defined by the model builder or yourself. So this one's broken right now, but if it were working, you could see how it worked. But it's broken. Uh, Let me do one more, so I make sure I get everybody's. This one's well, spooky tree. There we go. You can see the phonemes were built for this one as well when this model was put out. The first thing we need to do to build a sequence is music. So we're going to go ahead and create a sequence, and you're going to select your music from wherever you have your music. I'm going to go to, I have it here. I'm going to do the song Dead Dance by Lady Gaga. Notice it puts the song up on the top line. You can hear it. Can you all hear it playing, or do I need to share?
You would need to share your sound, but only if you're going to do it very short time so
There you
YouTube
go.
doesn't.
So you can see just importing. Can you hear it?
Yeah, but keep your clip short so
Okay.
YouTube doesn't flag it.
Okay. But you can see it imports the song up here. You can get it, you can break it down by going further and looking at how the songs plays. Of course, I'm not going to get into all of that, but you basically select a song and bring it in. The next thing you would do would be to determine what the lyrics are for this song. So I just go out and put lyrics to Dead Dance, just lyrics to Dead Dance. And different people have it different way. Like this one, they put pre-chorus, chorus, which is good because you can use it to determine if you have multiple soundtracks or multiple singing tracks. For this one, I think I used A to Z. Yeah, I used A to Z. The reason I chose A to Z and some things you might want to know on this is if you look at this, sometimes there's words in here that aren't really words, right? Dancing. It says dancing, Dancin. It may or may not pick that up when we go to do the import of the music and the lyric to the music, but which would require you to modify your lyric. And I've modified the lyric here. So notice anywhere it said dancing, I've changed dancing, I changed it to dancing. So you have to modify that in the best place to do it is in your um, lyric track that you have determined, or I put it in Word and then I modify it. So once you have the song and you have the lyrics, you go to a site called Auto Lyrics Align. And at that point, you choose the song that you're going to use, Dead Dance 3, and I'm going to copy the lyrics in from the Word file that you saw. Once you do that, you upload. When you first get into this site, it's going to ask you to log in. And when you log in, right now they're having a problem with Facebook for some reason. So log in with Google or Discord. So right now, there gives a warning if you try and log in with Facebook. Um, Once you do that and you click upload, it goes through a series of determining how the lyrics and everything aligned. I'm not going to go through it because it takes up to 5 minutes depending on the song. I did it earlier, so here is the download that it provided me. I just click on download and save it to my downloads file. Now that I have the download I need, I would go right click on new timing and click import timing track and go to my downloads and it's called output timing. And just click open and you can see it lays the lyrics and the breakdown of the lyrics into words and breakdown into phonemes. Any questions on that so far? I know it went pretty quick. Something
That's
to
good.
note
No,
is, go ahead.
nothing yet. Good.
Okay. Something to note, if there's a word in there that it doesn't recognize, up here in the top, let's say it didn't understand dreamed, it would put bracket, breath, bracket, and you would have to go in and change that. So you just click on that shift click and then you go change it to what it's supposed to be. So you can change any of these words up here. So just shift, double click, and it gives you the ability to change them. So that's how you would modify it. The other thing to know is if you listen to the song and you don't believe this is where it needs to be, you can just click on it and drag it wherever you want on the timeline. When you do that, if you've moved it over, you just right click on it and say breakdown word. It goes and grabs the standard English dictionary and grabs the phonemes for that. Let me modify this a little bit so you can see it. It put ETC, E, and MBP. So that's what it put in there for that one word. Any questions? I know I'm going quickly, but this is, let me slide this back over. If you want to get rid of this, just make sure you shut off the selector and just delete it. So you can edit this however you want. When you get your music, make sure you get your music from a reputable source. And Amazon's where I get most of my music. It's like $1.90, $1.50, 99 cents or whatever. Pay the artist the money. I mean, they get 2 cents on every one they sell. So it's worth it to make sure that you use copyrighted music. Don't go steal it or scrape it from YouTube, which you can do all day long. So um, I've now imported the timing track. I've imported the words and the phonemes, and it's all broken down. Let's now go through and I showed you how to edit the timing track, and I'm moving fast. One thing to note again, I said look for holes. You look for the word breath up here. Let's make this smaller. We have a hand
Yeah.
raised.
Um, David, a question in chat says, can you show how to add a second singer or background singers to that
Sure.
line? And
Um,
Lionel, please put your question in chat and I'll read it off to David.
so if you're going to have to do if you want to do backgrounds, I would right click and import a timing track. And I'm going to grab output right here, and then you can name this one backup. Okay. Now, some of these words aren't used by the backup singer. So what you do is just unselect it. Let's just say this isn't said by the background singer, so you just delete it. So you would go through and get rid of everything that is not needed. In this song, I know that and that. I'm going to show you the breakdown of backups in another sequence in just a second. But back to this, when I showed you earlier, um, sometimes it has parentheses around it. This one actually did, which told me that that was a background singer. So you can either get it from there or you can get it when you listen to the song. There was a good presentation on Moses the other night, I think 2 weeks ago. He went into great detail on how you can break down the lyric tracks. If you want to go look at that up, it's very good presentation, and I think you'll learn a lot from that.
Okay. There's a couple of questions pertaining to what you were just doing. One is in line two, it only shows a few of the words, not the song. Why is that in the second
It,
layer?
um, Good question. All I could do is copy and paste it. I mean, you can put it in there. This doesn't really matter, the green line. Even
Yeah.
though it's there, it doesn't really matter. It gets reactions from this bottom line only.
All right. And
Now,
then good.
go ahead.
The other question was, do you have to have the first and second line, or is it only the third line that does all the work?
It's only the third line that does all the work. That's why I said it wasn't a big deal to if that wasn't there.
And that answers the other question for Lionel too. But
Yeah. So phonemes are what drive it. And again, if we look at phonemes, these are the phonemes. The pink line are the phonemes. So I did a Petronic song once, lyric tracks for 5 people. It took 4 days. Um, just because I had to listen to the song multiple times. It wouldn't break up with Moses at the time. So I had to listen to the song over and over and over and watch the video of them singing to know which person was doing it. So it is a tedious task to do that. I also had to move words around in here because if they're a background, the word comes at a different point than the main singer. So you would modify that again by moving these wherever you needed to move them, as I showed you earlier. So again, take the word them and you can drag it out to where you want it to be and then right click on it and break down word. Any more questions on that?
nothing so far. You're good.
Um, Similar to changing the words, if you think the words are wrong or it has the word breath there, you can change the phonemes. If you don't like when you do this, if you don't like what it looks like, you can shift double click and change to a phoneme that's different. So you can make it any phoneme you wish. If you want this to be O, you just change it to O. And now it's an O. So you can break it down however you want. And I do that in the backup quite a bit because sometimes they're saying they're humming and they're doing oh ah whatever, right? If they're doing these in a backup, as a backup singer and you can't see it in the main lyric and you have to listen for it, I would grab this, copy, right click, copy, and move it over here and paste. And again, shift double click. Let's just call it O. And then right click, break down word. There you go. The other thing you can do is, let's say you want to have more than one phoneme. So you would divide the timings and you can divide it for how many you want it to be. Let's just say four. And at that point, you can have different parts of that breaking up the word. So again, you totally change this however you want. Any questions?
Yeah, the other one was how do you get the timeline for backup singers?
How did I get the timeline for
I think
backup?
I think that's what
If
it means. It just
okay,
you just added a new
yeah, I
timing track.
did. Yeah, I just went up to new timing and I said import timing track, and I took the same one I did for the first one, which was output from Auto Lyric Align, and I imported it. Now in the class the other day, what he did was he had Moses break out the main singer and then the background singers, and then he saved them as individual MP3 files. And he had to go through and change his lyric file and put it in, the right lyrics for the right background singer. And then he had to go back to Auto Lyric Align and do it multiple times, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So again, uh, for Petronix, which is five singers, I did one output and I went through and manually modified it every way, every one of them individually. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Um, at this point, let me change the view. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. If there's no questions here, I'm gonna go to the real sequence and show you how this is set up. Is that okay? So I'm going to discard these changes and I'll show you how I changed all this one. So right now, this is the real song, and you can see there's the dead dance, and then there's backup singers. And notice there's no words there because the backups, I mean, there's no words broken out because the backup singers aren't singing. They don't sing till way over here. So I modified that one, put it in there, and called it backup and deleted everything that wasn't needed. Notice that this one has only the word inside, and this one has alive because that's all the background singers sing. So you would cut everything else that's not needed and just let it use those, and you name it backup. Okay.
The question was how
Um,
did you
then,
create that view, a
pardon?
talker's view?
That this view that I have right now.
Hmm.
So normally when you go into sequence, you have a master view, and I would edit display elements and create a new view. And in this case, I called it talkers. Let's just call new talk. And I would go through and gather everything that was a singer. So we know that one's not, let's do that one. Let's do EFL pumpkin, just so you can see. I'm just going to put a few in here so you can see how it's done. And notice now that I've changed that, the view says new talk and it has the talkers in it that are in that group that I've already sequenced to. So you change the view. Just to note, the master view is the render order, but the view I use to sequence is down here in talkers because that's what I want to deal with. I also I break down to, like, I want to sequence only my house outline. I want to sequence only the yard. I want to sequence only the house props. And then when I render it and I want to see it all, I can look at it on a master view. So everything's in there for everything I've done. Okay, good question. Um, some things to note on the talkers. You can use, on this one, I'll show you, I have to pull these effect settings over. You can use states to define what you're going to see. This one, I put a state effect underneath it right here. And notice I called it state definition EFL pumpkin. Now you're going to say, how does that work? Well, let me go back to EFL pumpkin. I think it's here. And under EFL pumpkin, there's states defined. Right there is the EFL pumpkin. There's multiple states. And you decide which one that you want to use, right? So this one has EFL pumpkin or EFL pumpkin. No, eyes orange, but there's different ones here. Use EFL pumpkin for the outline on this one. And the reason I did that is just to show you that you could use an outline, but the outline only gets the outline of the pumpkin. At that point, the talking face fills in the eyes, the nose, and the mouths, but the outline is set up as what is in the states. Um, so you can have states as outlines, or you can have states as outlines and colors, or you can enforce custom colors, or you can define them separately. So let's go look at the EFL Ghost. The EFL Ghost, I'll have to pull colors over so you can see it. Notice the phonemes are selected. It says timing track backup. It says faces is this one says faces is the prop. Timing track is backup. Face definition. Now let's go look at that because it's face definition. Again, these are the face definitions for this one. Spook A, and it basically has different things for the way the mouth moves. Mostly the way this works is how the eyes are set. Notice the eyes are evil or whatever, right? But in this particular prop, let's do Spooko. Notice the eyes are a little different. See, those eyes are big and wide. So the way Jackie set this up, when you're sequencing, you can use different spooks. So if you have multiple of them on your layout, you could set one as Spook O and you could set one as Spook S, which is what I do. I have two of them, so I set one for O and one for S or D or whatever. But the face definition is set. Again, it comes from the talking faces definition, and that's how you change that. Now, different from the first prop, which was the EFL pumpkin, this one sets the colors by selecting them in the color palette. Let me move this over. So let me reselect this guy. So this guy has colors of white with the first color is the mouth, the second color is the eyes, and the third color is the outline. So if you want to change the outline color, let's just change it to green and say, yeah, I wanted a green. Now he's green. So you have two ways you can set the colors of them. You can set them by forcing custom colors, or you can set them in your, you can even set them in your faces and force custom color in faces. So what I mean by that is if we go back over to the spook again, in faces, you could have said force custom colors, and right now these are all black, but you could have set these up to be any color you wanted them to be. And this one's black because it's dark face. But let's go Spooko. This one doesn't have force custom colors selected. You could select force custom colors and say mouth, and then change the color that you want it to be. Let me spread this out a little bit. Just select the color right here. Select this one. Say OK. So now you've put the color that you want on the mouth as part of faces. So you have multiple ways that you could impact color and set color on your talking faces. You could do it in the face definition by forcing custom colors for the different sections. You can do it in the states, or you can do it, again, I'll show you on states. This one doesn't have any states on it, no states at all. So, well, there's one state, it's called spook, and all it is eyes. But if you don't have states, you can force custom colors in the face definition, or you can force custom colors by using the color palette. Any questions on that?
Yeah. What do I do if I don't have a spook in my layout and I just have a pumpkin, but the vendor has spook in his layout?
If you're importing a sequence that has different talkers than you have, let's just say you're getting one of my sequences and you don't have the Boscoyo Chrome character P3. You can take this when you do the import, and should I go ahead and do an import?
I don't know if you'd have, you did, yeah, if you want to.
Let's do that one. I don't know if it's going to work because it's the same song.
Yeah,
It might not. Oh, there it is.
there you go.
So over here, if you don't, over here on the left are your props, right? And I have the chroma character, but let's say you don't have the chroma character. You can grab the chroma character from over here and move it to any one of your props, any one of your singing faces. So if you want to put what he's doing, the chroma character on, let's put him on EFL Pumpkin. Okay, so now anything that's happening on the Boscoyo is going to drop on the EFL Pumpkin.
You
And
got it. Don't click, don't click. You got to click erase so you remove what's already there.
say that, oh yeah, because what Andy just mentioned was up here is you erase existing effects on imported models. So because I already had something on the pumpkin, and I don't know if you remember, but the pumpkin was, I showed you it was set up as a background singer or a backup singer because the chroma character is the main character. When I import it, it's going to take the lyric track from the lead singer. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm not going to save. I'm not going to save the thing. So now if we go look at the pumpkin right here, notice that it changed to match the chroma character because it now picked up the main time. I hate it when it does that. It now picked up the main timing track of the dead dance. I have two timing tracks here, or lyric tracks, dead dance and backup. Because I imported it from the one that was there, it overlaid it because it erased the previous props. Any questions there?
Nope, good so far. Thanks, David.
I've gone through move and change phonemes. You can put your effects on any one you wish. Notice again, I did went through the colors and showed you how to change them. Forcing custom colors, moving words, breaking down phrases and words. If you don't like the way a phoneme's defined, let's just go into, let's do Jackie's pumpkin. If you don't like the way he has defined this face, you can change it by changing any of these pixels here. So you just say if his that's his rest mouth and you only want it to be a small smile, you would just get rid of all the pixels that you don't want. So you would just get rid of them. Oops, I screwed it up. But that's how you change and change the phoneme settings or the face settings um, within an individual prop. You can add any faces you want into your sequence or into a model. You just have to define what they look like relative to your model. One thing that's I added the matrix here, even though it has sequence, it has information on it already. Let's just go ahead and bring a face down on the matrix. Let's put it right here. Now, um, it has a gingerbread man. I'm running him on the backup. Um, the face definition has multiple face definitions I put in here. Let's say he's gingerbread man, or he could be Grinch, or he could be Oogie Boogie. And I just put Frankenstein there. Uh, so you can see that you have different faces that you can put in there. Now you're probably saying, well, how do I get faces in there, right? So you get faces in there by going into the matrix, going into layout, and you go to your faces right here, and you would add one. Let's just call it for class. You would download it Now you can download it from xLights. xLights already has a bunch of them in there. Let's go look at ghosts. Let's just see what Megatree faces are. Some of these are because Megatrees don't actually have the definition to see some of them. Like some of these were made a little less. It makes it so it's not as pixelated. Because if you were to do, let's just say this guy, that may not work on a Megatree, but you can still do anything you want. You can put anything on anything. Let's just go ahead and do the scary clown. Okay, now let's go back. Let's save that. Wait a second. Did I say that was a matrix? Yeah, or class. Okay, let's go back to sequence. Go over to the face effect. Timing tracks backup, face definition, for class. So now it's the evil clown. And the evil clown, well, let's change the timing track to the dead dance, since that way you can see him talking. So now he's interacting with the main lyric track. Any questions on that?
Nope, all good so far.
Okay. You can add faces to any of your props that you want. So let's just go back to layout. Let's say I want to put a face on this globe. You can put faces on the globe too. Notice there's a face there right now. I'm sorry, it's broken. These are going to be broken because I changed paths. Let's just add green. Okay. Where did it go? You would import it from a model. So let's go ahead or import it from a file. So let's go ahead and find faces. And it is over in documents, xLight tools and accessories. Where are you? Let's try it here. I have a whole a thing of faces that I have, but you would come over to get the faces and you would import them directly into the matrix. I think because this isn't defined as a matrix, this one is defined as a custom model. You're not seeing it the way it would be, but if it were defined as a matrix, you should be able to put them on there. So, one thing someone asked about was the word shimmer. If you're in your sequence and you want to, shimmer means like when somebody's singing, their mouth moves more than normal, right? So you would click on it. Gotta 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 bring this up a little bit. You would right click on the individual phoneme you want to add the shimmer to, and when that phoneme's hits, it would make the mouth move faster. So you could add shimmer to any phoneme, if anybody's interested in that. Any questions?
Nope, still good so far.
Okay. Um, I think I've gone through everything I had.
Right.
Shimmer was the last thing. I did face definition. So let's go ahead and ask any questions anybody might have.
Yeah.
This is normally a quick class, so um,
All
you
right,
can you
I've
can
turned
want.
your mics back on so you can ask questions away. Oh,
Yep.
the question just popped up. Can you show how you fade out a face? I saw you had green and red lines on the
Not
face effect, the intro and outro on the face effects, the transitions.
okay. Hold on. Um,
They don't
what
jump right
he's
in.
talking about right here is you got lead in frames and lead out frames. So basically, you can suppress when not singing or set lead in and lead out frames so it fades in and out. So you got fade during lead out, lead in. You set the number of frames you want that to work. You can also set it to suppress when not singing. I tend to leave it on all the time. On this one, I've been suppressed when not singing. And when it goes out, it's 30 frames before and after when it fades in and out. The other thing I do,
And just on the frames, that's related to your the frames per second of your sequence, right? So 30 would be if you had a 40 frame per second sequence, that would be just shy of a second, about three-quarters of a second, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
The other thing you can do is if you don't want to do it that way, if you want it to fade, you can fade it in right here with in transition. You can set a fade and set your seconds here as well. So you can fade in or fade out, and you can set it differently for every one of these. They could all be different. So that's your in and out transition. So there's two places to set. You could set it here, which is on layer blending, and or in the faces themselves.
Okay. Steve, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. You can explain. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Where it uses state for an outline,
Hmm?
where does the state values hold from?
It pulls back from it pulls from the definition here. So if we were on this pumpkin, you as I showed you earlier, he had states defined. So his EFL pumpkin outline right there, that's the state. Let me show you a different one. It might make it easier or just give you a different understanding. Let's select this guy. Again, this one's broken. I didn't realize it was. But notice this one has multiple states. One's GAR, one's GAR2, and it changes the different colors. So when I created this one, I created three different possible colors for the gargoyle. And when I use them, I then change the states for an outline for it, and it changes it in the sequence. So over here in sequencer, let's move this out of the way.
What they're thinking right now, every Domino's pizza,
So in talking gargoyle,
It was a background noise.
notice that I have GAR3 selected as outline. Use state as outline. Now I can change it to GAR2, or I can change it to GAR1, whatever GAR is. This depends on how I feel. So I've defined all those states and those colors on that, so it uses those states. That answer your question?
Perhaps I don't understand states well enough, but so is there a timing track or something that says what state you're in?
Well, this face effect is literally the timing track. Actually, it's an effect that's hitting the timing track that's defined up here. So there's two timing tracks or lyric tracks. There's the dead dance, and then there's backup. So that's where it gets the words from these two. The first one is the dead dance in red, and then backup in yellow. So that's where it gets the words.
Okay, I understand that. So go
Okay.
to the model definition again and show me the states. So you've got state, face, inside, outside. How are those picked?
I picked them manually.
You
So
Okay,
may,
but then
I would click on here.
I understand that, but
They're all
is there,
used. They're all used when he references it back in the face effect. Those are just individual segments of his drawing on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
so the actual state name is meaningless? It's just
It's just a container to say what you're
documentation?
doing. Yeah.
Right.
And
Face, inside, outside, body. In this case, it's not used.
yeah.
Okay, I've seen other cases where the timing track has one, two, three, four.
hmm
Okay. Let me show you that one because I know what you're talking about now.
Okay.
And that would be good if you had bats that flapped.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So these are bats that flap, and they use one, two, three, four to set the positions of the wing. Now you could do the same thing as states, like if you had running deer or something. In other words, you have a singing face like a penguin and his feet flap and all that. You could set up states for the feet to flap, and then when you went in and defined it in your sequence, you would say use this state, and the state defines on what it's going to hit on. Like this state says 1, 2, 3, 4. It gets the 1, 2, 3, 4 from the beats track over in the sequencer. In this case, the beat count right here. 1, 2, 3. See it? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it takes that, and I use that to make the wings flap. Now, if you had a talking element that had feet that moved or arms that waved or anything like that, you would set up your state right here, your state definition for what it's going to do, how it's going to move. That answer your question?
Close enough. I'm gonna have to play with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it took
states
me a
get a
while to
little
figure it out too.
confusing.
So for like the waving snowman, this would be the same thing also for the hand, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
it'd be the
AFL.
same thing. You would put a state effect of the hand movement, and you would make it go up and down or whatever, and you would set it on the beat count, or
On
you
the
can
beat count.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
on the count like the number, or you can create your own timing track and call it up down up down up down. Yeah, I mean you could. There's so many ways to do it.
Yeah. And you,
Um,
just to let you know, when you do that and you have a running deer or a flapping bat, that state effect goes above the face effect
yeah,
on a layer above.
yeah. And here's where I said up down. You can create
Yeah. And that would be in
create
the
your
state
own
effect.
track and determine. Yeah, you would create your own timing track and name the elements of it up down, and then you would set the length of distance between them.
Since it's
Like right
sure,
here,
can
this.
we just you have a bat there, David, in your
Yeah,
list?
pardon me.
You have a bat here selected. You put the state on real quick and just show them like
Sure.
you already have a beach track. And throw a
Can't remember where it's at.
okay. No,
So many. Gee. There it is, flying bat. Okay, he's there now. Let me move him up. Okay, flying bat's at the top now. So right there, the beat count, you can see him moving because on the AB for him, I have it set as beats. So he's moving relative to the beat count. You would do the same thing if you're going to do a talking prop with states. Did that answer your question?
and just to let them know, that's where the 1, 2, 3, 4 came on. Each one of
Mhm.
those wing movements is a 1, 2, 3, and 4 built in at the model level in states.
Yeah, so here it
It
is in
goes off
states
that
again.
beat track.
Here it is in states again, so you can see it. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4. And notice I called it beats because I knew I was going to use beats. And if I go back to my sequencer, that way I see the word beats that's defined in the model. There's different things like there's wing and wing two because I use those at sometimes just depending on different sequences. But if you create your own, like this wing and wing two, you could set the duration that you want it or the timing you want it to go because your beat count could be going pretty fast, right? And you may not want that. So you would set it on like 1 and 3, and you would have to create a beat count that's 1 and 3. Or you would have to create it over here in your layout in your states. You would create a state which is, I don't know, beat slow, or you would get rid of 2 and 4, and it would only move on 1 and 3. That makes sense?
And Steve, Jen put a couple videos in the chat, links to videos on states.
Yep. Good videos.
Okay.
Good videos.
I was doing something with faces earlier today, and I found a website called, I think, Track IQ or Track AI, Little M Lights or something like that.
It's a new app thing he made. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
And
I haven't had a chance to look at that AI yet.
played with it either.
Yeah.
It breaks it all out, multiple singers, and it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, Moises AI does that as well, just to give you
Yeah.
another option.
There's multiple tools that break them out. The
Yep.
presentation on the Moises the other day was just a great presentation. It showed the power of Moses. Again, you break out the different singers, save them as individual MP3s, and then use auto lyric align with the lyrics that you created in a text editor, and it would break them out individually and
Yeah.
create output files for you and input them individually.
Yeah, and check that one out from a couple weeks ago in our xLights gems on the Moises AI, because it breaks out drums and that, and you can have your bat wings flap to the drum beats of the song and a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, he did. Like I said, it was probably one of the better
Yeah, it was
classes on
very
Moses
good.
I've seen.
Cheryl, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Sherry.
You still there? Cheryl, she says her question was, where do you get the faces in xLights? You make them, right? You import them, or
Um,
Can you hear me?
yeah, there you are. Go ahead.
So when you imported faces for your matrix that you said were built into xLights,
mhm.
where did you go?
Do it again. Let's see. Come on. Okay. I go into faces. Let's add, let's say Santa. Sounds like an easy one. And then I click on download images. xLights pops up a box that has different ones that are already in there. Let's go find Santa. Santa. There you go. Insert the face. And there they all are to find for you. Now, right now, this is an error that's in it. It's being worked on. This was just added recently. This didn't have this before with the preview. But if we go over to sequencer, let's just say, okay, sequencer, where's this guy go?
Dave, just go back there to the layout and change it from centered to scaled.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
Which
Which one did you just pull in? Yep, now where it says centered in there, you're gonna want
Oh, that's
scale.
where it is. Okay.
And then
That's
now click on one of the faces.
There we go.
There you go. Okay.
There we go. I couldn't figure it out.
The
I just
default
found
is
this.
not really good being centered. It's probably should always be scaled, but
Yeah.
now you know how it's.
I was talking to Andy about this earlier. I just saw it. I mean, it's new.
I
So,
forgot about that part. Yep, I knew I
Yeah.
saw it.
but then you go back to the sequencer and let's go to matrix. Minus, matrix right here. And he's currently on Evil Clown. You would go to your list and Santa should be in the list right there. And that's how I got Santa. That
Okay,
makes sense?
thank you.
You can also, I have other faces offline. Daryl's made quite a few and added them over the years. But people make faces all the time. They basically get a basic image and then they go in with an editor and change the mouth to match the movement of the phonemes. But you can do that as well. Daryl, did you want to show that while we're here or no? I guess not.
Yeah,
Any other questions?
that was it.
Indulge me to let me show you a few seconds of this sequence. Let's see if it'll play.
Just be careful with YouTube. The flag.
Like the words of a song, I hear you call.
Of course, Santa wouldn't be singing this.
Like a thief in my head, you criminal.
And notice the backups are coming in just one by one.
My thoughts before I dreamed them.
They'll eventually all be lit up.
You killed my queen with just one pawn. This goodbye is no surprise. This goodbye won't make me cry. Can I keep on dancing until I'm dead? Dancing until I'm dead. Dancing until I'm dead. Yeah, I'll keep on dancing until I'm dead.
Anyway, that's the sequence built out there.
Well, thank you, David.
No worries.
No,